Tiffany Henyard just did what I thought about doing, was not showing up for her work. What's good, everyone? I'm Marcus, an attorney, but not your attorney. And today we're going to take a look at what's going on in Dolton and see what's going on. They recently had a meeting last week, and we did a video over here where I talked about what were the benefits from Tiffany Henyard having a solo meeting. And now it looks like the Dolton trustees actually had a meeting where who was absent? Tiffany Henyard. So we're going to take a look at a few videos. We're going to look and see what happened and talked about what the board did do. They tried to take back their power. I think anytime you can have a meeting without essentially the counterbalance to power within any entity, it allows the people who are at that meeting to try to take back a little bit of power, take back a little bit of control. You have, for example, the Dolton mayor, the board of trustees. If the mayor doesn't show up, that's a great opportunity for the trustees. They have a quorum to try to seize back power. So let's dive into these videos and talk about what is going on in the great village of Dolton.
New at 10, a chaotic meeting of trustees in South suburban Dolton. There are questions about following protocols in hiring, and now the village needs to find a new bank. Our Jermont Terry has the latest chapter of Dolton's dysfunction.
Another month and Dolton Village trustees sit down to handle business, not at City Hall, but at the Parks Field House. Absent from the monthly board meeting, Mayor Tiffany Henyard, but present for the first time, Trustee Stanley Brown.
Now, if y'all aren't familiar, Stanley Brown is or was one of Tiffany Henyard's very close allies as a member of the trustees. He was MIA for a while. He did some burger commercials that, hey, shout out to Hannibal is Hungry. That's a great segue. But he did some burger commercials for Tiffany Henyard's defunct burger chain. And now he's back on the scene, and it appears that Trustee Brown is now trying to work with the trustees who have kind of soured on Tiffany Henyard and what she had going on.
I have residents that said come to this meeting, some said don't come to this meeting.
Brown hasn't sided with the four trustees previously who've been outspoken about the mayor's lack of accountability.
I'm not here jumping ship, or I never was on the ship to jump a ship. Always been here.
Earlier this month, Trustee Brown did leave when the mayor continued on with a board meeting despite not having enough trustees to do so. The city attorney making it clear any action taken wasn't legal. And that meeting, Henyard appointed a new village manager.
Now, we did talk about this. Hey, Tiffany Henyard had her solo meeting. She tried to appoint a new city manager who, hey, when we looked at his background, it was wild as hell. I'll probably link that video or maybe a link to that gentleman's shady ass background. But we talked about it. It didn't look like it was up to par because in order to make a move, you have to have a quorum there. There wasn't one in present.
It's our legal opinion that the mayor failed to follow the municipal code.
Yet Thursday night, the board made it clear they never approved the hiring of a new village manager, adding since Keith Freeman, the current village manager, was indicted for falsifying his income taxes for a bankruptcy filing and now working with the federal investigators, Freeman is now doing his job.
We are able to get things done. Keith Freeman is finally doing the right thing, and he's protected by the Whistleblowers Act. They want to remove him.
All right, now let's talk about that real quick. I think that's a very important part. Hey, the trustees say now we can get some work done because our boy Keith is actually doing his job. Now, the reason that somebody decides to do their job, it could be kind-hearted or it could be some external pressure, aka the feds stepping on your throat, which causes you to act how you should have been acting all along in the best interest of the citizens. So I think that works out well. And I think that's a very smart move by the board at that time. Like, hey, now that we got this guy on board, he's essentially carrying out what we want to do to try to rectify the damage that was caused by Tiffany Henyard. So there's no need to remove him right now because as long as he got the Fed's foot on his throat, they'll be able to utilize him as a tool to get their agenda done. So shout out to them because I think that's definitely a smart move on their side.
In August, this Illinois state comptroller decided to freeze funds to the village because it had not received audits or financial reports for 2 fiscal years. Yet now,
So now we're in the process of doing the reconciliation of the previous fiscal year.
it was also revealed that the village's bank was so fed up with the back and forth and irregularities, it ordered the bank to close its account and take their business elsewhere, which leaves the village just 60 days to transfer whatever funds are available to a new bank.
Yo, y'all let me know in the comments. Could you imagine being the financial institution that the financial institution for the village has to be a terrible job? I completely understand. I completely understand why the bank was like, man, fuck this. We getting out of the village of Dolton. We don't want no parts of this business. I mean, think about it. Would you want to be a bank to a person who can't pay their bills, who mismanage their money? They probably got all sorts of overdraft fees. So, hey, the bank got out of there. It's going to be interesting to see who decides to take on that new challenge. Honestly, if I were a financial institution, I wouldn't elect to take on that challenge until after the election to see how that pans out. Because right now, generally, if you have substantial assets, most financial institutions will want to take you on because of fractional lending. They can use a certain percentage of those monies you have in the bank to invest and make money and all of that good stuff. But considering what we saw from the Lightfoot report, it's quite possible that what the village has in their actual fund is probably really light for a municipality. Now we're going to pivot and take a look at one more video because, hey, this video was actually interesting because let me go ahead and pull it up. Because this is what I mean by, hey, when you don't have the executive there, the mayor, the supervising trustee, it gives the other party who you're balancing and sharing power with a chance to really assert their power. And we're going to talk about exactly what happened.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard was a no-show for this special meeting called by village trustees, but she was still the target of scathing public comment.
I'm not going to stop until she's behind bars.
And at some point, she is going to have to answer to some of this stuff.
Without Henyard present, the trustees taking sweeping action.
I think the sentiment of those people who spoke is probably the sentiment of the majority of persons who reside in this particular municipality. That's just my personal opinion. But let's take a look at how they tried to take their power back in the absence of the super mayor.
Trustees taking sweeping action, approving a temporary moratorium on travel and meal reimbursement.
Hey, I think we all see why this happened. We all agree that this should happen. I'm gonna be honest, just in looking at news reports associated with the travel and what the mayor was doing, um, one, I think their processes were terrible. Most places, we talked about this before, they have strict guidelines. Like, if you're with the federal government, you have to try to find the cheapest flight available unless certain exceptions apply. They put rules in place to make sure people can't, stay at the super first class and do all this highfalutin stuff. A lot of those things appear to not have been in place. So this is one method of taking the power back. Moratorium on travel and a moratorium on travel and meal reimbursement. So, hey, it's putting a pause on everything. And let's just keep it honest. Like travel with regard to the village of Dolton, it should be very limited, few and far between, and it should be limited to a select group of persons for a specific reason.
For elected officials and employees, amending rules on check signing requirements, and approving 18 business licenses that trustees say had been held up.
We have real issues that need to be addressed, and that's what we're here to do and move this community forward.
The board also approving a new firefighter contract that it negotiated with its attorney through 2027 after the union went without one for 4 years.
This is actually interesting too. Let's talk about this real quick because at one point during the Lightfoot report, we took a look through it and we were able to see how money was being spent and who was actually getting the most money. And I kind of made a joke because the fire department's budget kept decreasing every year, but the police department budget was just going through the roof. And now we know why, due to excessive overtime for persons who weren't authorized to get overtime, and so forth. And so it's funny that, the fire department really didn't get any benefit from this. They would have been asked out had a major fire started in the village of Dolton. But shout out to them for actually being able to work out this new contract for the fire department. I think it's something that's well deserved. It's important. It's an important emergency service that's provided. Nobody think the fire department do anything till your shit is on fire. So I think that was good as well.
Firefighters blaming Mayor Henyard for numerous canceled bargaining sessions.
The trustees did what they had to do, and it was slam dunk. Everything went very well.
Trustees also finalizing action to fire Deputy Police Chief Louis Lacey, seen here at a previous meeting. Lacey pleaded not guilty last month to federal bankruptcy fraud charges. And that same day, Henyard and Lacey were recorded telling officers he's still in charge of the department. But now the state agency, which certifies police officers, lists Lacey as inactive, with an August 14th separation date from Dolton Police.
This is our community. We need to take it back, and we will continue to fight as we've been doing for the last 3.5 years.
Multiple messages left for Henyard's personal attorney were not returned, and in recent months, Henyard has not responded to repeated requests for comment from ABC 7. In Dolton, Eric Hong, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Watch Break.
So overall, I think a meeting without the super mayor went relatively well. It looks like a lot of things were done at that meeting that were really, honestly, genuinely in the best interest of the overall community at large. And that's what the hell being a public servant is about. It's not about serving and enriching yourself, even though everybody do a little bit of finessing. But this shit that was going on or is going on in Dolton is just over the top. So shout out to them. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I think this was a big win for the trustees. I think it was a big win for the citizens. Not having a super mayor there allowed them to actually make some moves. Check out the content on the screen. There's going to be more content of attorney reactions and finance discussion.